It really was an incredible day up on Capitol Hill today. Let's really dig into it. Happy to be joined by Krisanne Hall, former prosecutor and constitutional activist, and Jennifer Bukowsky, criminal defense attorney. Krisanne, Jennifer, thanks so much for joining me for the whole night tonight. Let's roll up our sleeves and get into this. And let's start with, I want to get your overall take on what you think happened, what we all watched today, and respond to my take. I felt like she was credible, he was credible, and we didn't really move the ball very much. But Krisanne, let's start with you. Give me your overall take on what you saw.
Well, this is precisely why America is set up under the rule of law that requires due process, because this kind of testimony is not how we're supposed to determine the serious nature of these allegations. I mean, think about it. It has to be more than a he said, she said kind of thing. And that's why credibility in just a single testimony is not really what we need I mean, seriously, these are criminal accusations. I know he's not on trial for a crime, but the serious nature of the accusation deserves the real kind of due process, especially when, you know, as you see him talking about the fact that this is his reputation for the rest of his life. And the manner in which the congressman handled these situations, this particular allegation, is very, very alarming to me. The way they talked about it as if it was due process. This was not due process. A questioning by a congressional hearing by partisan politics is not due process. And this is precisely why our founders required due process in the Bill of Rights. And it really makes me sad, because my outtake of this is a really deep concern that a large number of Americans who are viewing this process will actually believe that this is how you define due process. And I watched C-SPAN, and I listened to the people who called in afterwards. And it was just simply alarming to me that the serious nature of all of this and the credibility of the entire process was just elevated to the level of the equality of due process.
Hey, Jennifer, right back at you. Your overall take on what you watched today.
Well, Joe, I think under these circumstances, she may be 100% sure that Kavanaugh assaulted her, but 100% wrong about that memory. She describes being pushed from behind by two boys into a bedroom in 1982. One of them's on top of her. She's staring at Mark Judge the whole time, trying to make eye contact with him. She's not face to face with the boy that's on top of her. She keeps hoping that Mark Judge will intervene. They eventually topple off the bed, and she flees, does not look back, goes to the bathroom, and then leaves the home. She doesn't recall expecting Brett Kavanaugh to be there. She only saw Brett Kavanaugh 4 to 5 times at parties between her freshman and sophomore years. She's experiencing fight or flight. This is a situation ripe for an unconscious transference, especially given that Leland, Mark Judge, PJ, they all say, no way this happened. So does Kavanaugh. It may be locked in her brain that this happened to her, but she could be 100% wrong about that due to the way that memory in the brain works. She could be testifying truthfully, but incorrectly.
Krisanne, I had the same problem I think you might have had. This was clearly not some sort of investigatory search for the truth. You could tell, I mean, this was a show. This was, in essence, a credibility test. And that's why after she spoke in the morning, I mean, she came across as credible. And I thought Kavanaugh then had a tough hill to climb. But you're right. This was no investigation, was it?
No, and you could actually tell by the questions that were asked of him. They were not real questions. Nobody was actually wanting to get to the truth. These politicians were more interested in making statements of condemnation and accusation rather than getting to the truth. And you know, the one thing that I guess maybe you can give credit to Kavanaugh was the way that he he maintained himself, even though he became passionate, even though he became angry, he really maintained himself in a way that I think gives him credit for sitting through this. I mean, we're talking about a seasoned attorney, a law professor, a judge who knows how questions are supposed to be asked, knows what a leading question is, knows what a directed question is. He knows that these questions are being designed to trap him, and he handled himself very well. I personally wish that he'd have been a little bit more direct and aggressive. I think one of the questions that I found most irritating was this demand by the senators over and over and over again. Will you ask for an FBI investigation? Will you ask for an FBI investigation? You know, I would have said, excuse me, Senator, America is a place where we are innocent until proven guilty. I sit before you innocent until proven otherwise. Let those who accuse me call for the investigation because they have something to prove I do not.
Jennifer, what was your reaction to that, the endless calls for an FBI investigation?
It was very frustrating to hear that because the FBI doesn't come to a determination as to what really happened, nor could they. All they do is go ask some questions and write a report about it, which is what the Senate Judiciary Committee could have done. They were willing to fly out to California and meet with Dr. Ford. She apparently didn't know that, according to her testimony today, which begs the question, why didn't her attorneys tell her that? It was frustrating to see that them call for him to basically demand the FBI investigate him over and over again. And what happened today was really a crime to the Me Too movement. I mean, you have Harvey Weinstein, Les Moonves, and Bill Cosby, and Brett Kavanaugh. One of these things is not like the other, but the Me Too movement is real, and it's sad to see that this gets swept up in that because I think it diminishes it and harms it in a way that I don't like.
Yeah. Let's drill down on some of these specific answers and questions. Krisanne and Jennifer are going to be with us for the rest of the hour. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We are back with Jennifer Bukowsky, criminal defense attorney, and Krisanne Hall, former prosecutor and constitutional activist. And ladies, let me wrestle with this one with you. I found both witnesses credible today. I found her pretty believable and credible, and I found him pretty believable and credible. But Jennifer, I want to start with you on this. Then I'm left at the end of the day thinking, well, one of them then is lying, right?
Wrong.
Does that make any sense?
No, I think you're wrong. I don't think that one of them has to be lying. I think that she could be mistaken. It's called unconscious transference. It happens quite frequently that someone will misidentify a familiar person as a perpetrator. And given these circumstances, she's pushed from behind into this room. A boy's on top of her, but she's looking at the other one. She flees and doesn't look back. She didn't know Kavanaugh very well. Doesn't recall expecting him to be at the party, she said. And under these circumstances, she could be testifying what she believes to be 100% true, but also be 100% wrong as to what went down.
Interesting. So she's not lying, she's mistaken. Krisanne, what's your thought on that?
You know, I think that the way you explain to a juror how they're supposed to deal with testimony is really applicable here. So what you've got is what we call the weighing of the evidence, and you've pointed out a really a conundrum here. You find both witnesses credible within their realm of understanding. So once you have an equal platform, then you have to start looking at what evidence corroborates one or the other. Well, there is no evidence that corroborates Dr. Ford. As a matter of fact, she's called forward 4 people who have all 4 have gone on the record to say, you know, I wasn't there, that couldn't happen. One of them was a lifelong friend of hers. On the other hand, you have Kavanaugh, who has corroborating evidence. He has testimony of others, sworn testimony of others on his behalf. Plus, we have that calendar, which is just totally amazing to me. You know, jurist aside, I think it's amazing that you can keep a diary like that. We can see that. But so now it becomes this weighing of the evidence thing, and that's why this is so important. Unfortunately, the people of America are so driven by drama and emotion in this court of public opinion that I'm afraid that and the strength of this movement of Me Too, which is as Jennifer was saying, very relevant in the actual cases. We cannot allow our passions to overcome the raw facts of evidence.
Jennifer, Kavanaugh was passionate. He was angry. He was ticked off. Did you find that helpful or distracting? How do you think that played?
It felt authentic to me. He was when he was almost tearful talking when he brought up his mother and the ring true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be biased, but as the mother of two sons, the idea of her son listening to her closing arguments and repeating her words at a proceeding, and then thinking about what she's going through right now, she must be livid. I mean, if I thought one of my sons were wrongfully being accused of something like this, you'd really see a war on women at that point. I can't imagine how difficult this has been. His wife looked like she had been through the ringer. I mean, this is hard on everyone. I understand that it's hard for Dr. Ford to come forward, but I agree with Krisanne, you got to look at the weight of all of the evidence in determining the question ultimately is whether or not he's qualified and has the character to be confirmed to the court. And I think that after the end of the long day today, he does, and he should be voted and approved and put on the court immediately.
So what's going to happen now? We will continue with Krisanne and Jennifer and go at that question next. We're back with Krisanne Hall and Jennifer Bukowsky talking about the only thing anybody and everybody is talking about today. The hearing that took place today, Judge Brett Kavanaugh and his accuser, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. And Krisanne and Jennifer, I wanted to move into, okay, so what now? Where are we moving now? How should this play out? It sounds like West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin is being reported as a yes vote on Kavanaugh, which would certainly help clear his path. Krisanne, your reaction to that and what that then might mean for a possible vote if Manchin is a yes?
You know, I'm not surprised by that. Like I said, I was watching on C-SPAN, and during the breaks, people were calling in to the show. And I can't count, I mean, even from my own state of Florida, how many people called in, said, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I've never been more ashamed of my party ever. And these kind of testimonies are going to reach to these senators. And the way that this was handled is not working out well, is not working out the way I think the Democrats wanted it to work out. They wanted to aggravate and ignite their base to come out, only they're having the opposite effect. And where we go from there, here, how do we know? Because we don't know anything more about this affair, well, I shouldn't use that word actually, this situation between Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford than when we started.
Jennifer, do we believe, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but can we believe that the allegations from these other potential women that we're not gonna take time and investigate these things? This thing is done. We're going to move to a vote. Do you feel pretty confident about that?
I do. We had a process. He was nominated. They did the vetting. You submitted, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pages of documents and answered all these questions, met with all these senators individually. This is the vetting process that's supposed to take place. And to entertain additional coordinated accusations that may be coordinated that are coming out and would not be a good idea for this process to decide whether or not he should be confirmed. And Lindsey Graham said, he voted for Kagan and Sotomayor. He said, tell him, hey, from Lindsey. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to work. If you're qualified, get confirmed. It's not supposed to be destroy someone's character. That's not the purpose of the proceeding.
Well, and Jennifer, speaking of Lindsey Graham, and I really thought this was like a big old turning point in the hearing today. Senator Dick Durbin kind of had Kavanaugh on the ropes a little bit. He kept asking him about, will you ask the White House for an FBI investigation? And Kavanaugh really didn't have a good answer. And then when Durbin was done, Lindsey Graham did this. Take a listen.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it, because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process, you came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Boy, Krissanne, that was like a boom moment to me. What was your reaction to Senator Graham?
My reaction was, if Lindsey Graham is calling politicians in the process corrupt, things have gotten really bad in DC. And I like the fact that, he brought out that point that we were trying to make. Hey, look, if you wanted the FBI investigation, you should have called for it. You had the opportunity to do this. We are a society built on innocent until proven guilty. And I'm going to tell you, it really makes me angry that everybody on that committee asking him, will you call for an FBI investigation? He has no obligation to prove his innocence. He is sitting there as innocent. And one thing that I did like about the one thing that I did like about Kavanaugh was that they kept asking him about his drinking habits, and then he would be like, how do you drink? Do you like alcohol? And I think we should have seen a little bit more of that.
Krissanne, that's interesting, because there's part of me that thought, maybe he went a little bit too far with that. But Jennifer, what was your reaction to what Krissanne just said? Because he did throw that back into some of the senators.
I think it was fair to do so. I think he was trying to answer a question honestly. You can't say for sure whether or not you had beer and then didn't remember something, because you wouldn't remember it, and he's trying to be accurate in his testimony, but it's kind of ridiculous and absurd. I mean, everyone from Gen X or everybody predating Facebook can't be confirmed to anything. I don't know. It's just America's lost its mind in some ways with regard to this.
Well, no, that's true. Krissanne, overall, is it accurate to say that before Brett Kavanaugh spoke today, his nomination was in real trouble, and he went for it all, didn't he? I mean, he saved it. I think he saved his nomination.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so as well. And the thing that failed, the character of a Supreme Court justice is something that ought to be in question. That is no doubt. We want people of good character. As a matter of fact, that's how the position was designed when the framers wrote the Constitution. So often people say that Supreme Court justices have lifetime appointments. That is not true. There's no lifetime appointment in the Constitution. Supreme Court justices serve without term limits, but on the terms of good behavior. That's what the Constitution says. And so character matters, but not a character when you're 17 years old, a character where you are now. And that's why I think that it was relevant for him to be asking the questions of the senators. Hey, how do you live your life now? Why don't we talk about the now?
And I don't know if this has come up, but she could report this to the police, couldn't she now? They don't have a statute of limitations on rape in Maryland. No one asked her, why aren't you calling the police? Why aren't you asking for him to be arrested? It was a double standard all the way today.
Hey, what a treat. These two aren't going anywhere. We're going to take a look at the politics of all of this when we come back. Continuing with former prosecutor Krisanne Hall and criminal defense attorney Jennifer Bukowsky, a Judiciary Committee vote is scheduled for tomorrow, Friday morning. Talk of a full vote on the Senate floor Saturday morning. Ladies, I want to ask you each a separate question about what happened today as a non-lawyer. And Krisanne, I'll start with you. Mark Judge, the alleged eyewitness to what allegedly happened 35 years ago, why wouldn't a potential eyewitness have testified today to add something to this he said, she said?
Well, there's a lot of questions about why not for this, and why weren't there questions about why wasn't there testimony or questions directed about who Kavanaugh is today, how he lived his life from Yale to now? I mean, that would be a more relevant reference as to who he is and how he would be as a justice. I think there's a lot. We are going to go away from this from now on, and I believe that there's going to be papers written in the future speculating on why this didn't happen or that didn't happen. But I think the bottom line is simply this. This was not, like you had said before, this was not a hearing in an effort to discern any truth or to divine any facts. This was political theater to rally people together for elections that are coming up in November. It was simply and singly a political mechanism and a mock court.
And that's not a good thing. And by both sides, I would add. Jennifer, you're a criminal defense attorney. Judge Kavanaugh is your client. Would you have advised him to have taken the tack that he took today?
I'll tell you what, Joe, my normal advice to clients is that the road to the pen is paved with defendants who testify, because just under that pressure, people could take something that you say the wrong way. You could get trapped. It's just too tricky and too treacherous to choose that path. But Kavanaugh did an amazing job today. He's probably always been the smartest person in the room when he's gone to different places. He was passionate, and he's just a man that's spent a whole lifetime of pursuing excellence and working very hard to get where he's gotten today. And so he would be one of the rare clients that I would say, yeah, go for it, because you need to defend yourself from these accusations if you want to get confirmed. He had no choice, and he wanted to testify immediately when this accusation was made, if you'll recall. It's her that was delaying things, and I don't know if it's really her claiming that she had a flight phobia or her lawyers, But apparently she's flying all over the place. But anyways, he wanted to come testify right away. And I can see why after today.
Yeah. Hey, don't go anywhere. We've got one more segment with Krisanne and Jennifer. What today did to our body politic. We'll wrap with that. We are back, wrapping up a fairly momentous day in America with Krisanne Hall and Jennifer Bukowsky. Again, a vote right now is scheduled, barring something happening. A vote is scheduled in the Judiciary Committee tomorrow, Friday morning, and a possible vote on the Senate floor on Saturday. Krisanne and Jennifer, I don't know how you feel, and I'm going to ask you how you feel, but this whole thing today kind of left me with a sour taste in my mouth. I thought the process kind of stunk, and I don't think it makes us and our Senate and our whole judicial system look very well. Krisanne, let me start with you. What's your takeaway from all of this?
You know, I think I read a survey that said our Congress has an 11% approval rating. And I think that went down. It went down. And it's so sad that we have such a beautiful Constitution and we have such a great system if it would ever be allowed to work the way it's supposed to work. But now you're in a situation where people cannot even vote for or against Kavanaugh based on his judicial stance. And so now anybody, for me, if I was a senator, right, I personally am not a fan of Kavanaugh's. I don't like his Fourth Amendment position. I don't like the way he places precedent above the Constitution. But now I'm in a situation that if I were to vote against him based on those merits, I would be actually supporting the atrocities that happened today. And now you're in a situation where you're almost guaranteed that everybody with a moral conscience is going to vote for him, because to otherwise vote against him based on real salient constitutional issues, you end up supporting something more evil.
Hey, Jennifer, do you walk away from today as, forget about Kavanaugh, whether he's going to be confirmed or not, but as pessimistic as I am on the overall process?
No, Joe, I'm an optimist. This happened to Clarence Thomas. We can get over it and move on. I just hope we can make America a party like it's 1999 again. Those days were fun before Facebook, and that would be great, wouldn't it? I was reminiscing about that last night, how I just missed that Facebook thing, and I had a lot of fun before Facebook came around. Thank goodness I got that out of my system. But it could have a chilling effect for people as excellent as Kavanaugh to want to go into public service. I worry about that. But overall, I think we're going to be okay. We just need to hang in there.
So I would like to see
Go ahead, Krisanne. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just would like to see people use this as a really good teaching moment to say, hey, this is not how politics is supposed to work. This is how the Constitution is written. Let's move forward in an educated manner so we can be better.
You are dreaming, my dear, but I love that. The crass political question, we're 40 days away from a midterm. I know that. Well, I'll ask you the crass political question. What went down today, and assuming Brett Kavanaugh gets voted and confirmed this weekend, does that play to the advantage of the Democrats or the Republicans? Jennifer, I'll start with you.
Well, I learned in 2016 I'm pretty bad at predicting election outcomes, but I hope it benefits the Republicans. Kavanaugh is really, I think he came through well today. I think a lot of people, as Krisanne mentioned, even Democrats are saying this is not fair what they're doing to this man. And I certainly hope in my home state of Missouri that we fire Claire McCaskill in 40 days.
Krissanne, your take on the midterms, just the crass political, who does it help?
You know, I think there's no better litmus than like I said, the people calling in to C-SPAN after this. I mean, you could hear the disgust in these voices of the people who declared that they had been lifelong Democrats. I think this is actually going to be the Democrats shooting themselves in the foot. It's not going to work out well. I suspect, and I'm not any better at predicting elections either, but I suspect that you will see a large Republican turnout and a low Democrat turnout because they've got nothing. Yeah. They still have nothing to rally around, and we'll be praying for you over there in Missouri, my born and raised state.
Well, and maybe Jennifer and Krisanne as we close, and I think the three of us are generally in agreement on what happened today, but I gotta believe we can all agree on this. Grassley, Leahy, and Hatch have been in Washington, D.C. for a combined 143 years. They need to retire. That's too damn long. Oh my God.
Way too long, way too long. Feinstein needs to go. So many shows they need to go.
Loved her suit today, but yeah.
I know, right?
They've been in D.C. for too long. Republican and Democrat, it doesn't matter. My God, it was Grassley and Leahy. They were there during the Anita Hill hearings. Hey, Krisanne, Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the whole night. Loved it. This was fun. Thank you too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Bye.
You got it. Thanks. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is our country. We fight every day to get it back.